All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Emma Chabber, and I run an online platform called The Environmental. And we have with us Durlabh Ashok, who is representing Pakistan at COP26 in Glasgow right now. Thank you, Durlabh, for sparing some of your time. I'm sure you probably have to. It's really early in the morning right now over there, right? It's 7 a.m.
Yeah, it's 7-Eleven and the weather isn't nice as well. So it's like 8 degrees, 7 degrees with constant like on and off showers. So yeah, not Karachi friendly environment in anyway. So yeah.
But you've been in Islamabad recently, so it's probably something similar to Islamabad, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like, so I haven't been in Islamabad in winters. It was like in September. So not that bad, but it was a bit cold. Like I have traveled internationally quite a bit. So I'm comfortable, but not like, like involving rain into the equation. It just creates another issue. Like then you have to be make sure that everything's waterproof as well. So it just brings in a different
Ha,
kind of difficulty into this. Yeah.
ha. So once again, thank you for being here. And I can imagine that you have a busy schedule and that you probably have to run towards the COP conference shortly. So okay, very quickly, Durlab, ke how did you get there? So I understand that you've been working on the climate change agenda for quite a while now, because we've interacted on and off in the last 4 to 5 years as well. But to let the other young people know, to let
Yep.
more students know that, because a lot of people imagine जो मुझे जो नजर आता है, अच्छा we're going to switch between languages, right? जो
Yeah. Sure
मुझे
thing.
जो
Sure
नजर
thing.
आता है मुझे जो नजर आता है कि पाकिस्तान में unfortunately a lot of young people don't know that like if they do work on on climate change and environmental issues, that there is a lot of potential to reach leadership roles as well, and to actually make a difference. The main thing is to actually make a difference in the world. It's like, especially because considering that Pakistan is the fifth or sixth most vulnerable country.
Yep.
So, what have you been doing in the last 4 to 5 years?
Right, right. So it's let me start by this. So we all are aware of COP, right? What COP is, like at least to a some extent, very basic extent. Okay, it happens every year, and it's where all the negotiators meet and basically discuss what the climate policies are going to be in terms of when it comes to UNFCCC processes. So that's United Nations Convention on Climate Change. So
Mhm.
not many of us have heard about COI, right? So that's Conference of Youth. I will talk about this in a bit, but let me answer your question first because that's a very important agenda point and something that you have touched with the topic as well. So I think let's first
Mm,
talk that. So I've been working in on climate change since 2017, and to be very frank, I just got stumbled into this entire field by accident because I was in Germany in 2017, and my friend called me and basically said, "I am working with this program with US State Department here in Karachi, and it was a
mm,
technical event, technology related event. My background is in technology, so he thought maybe I might be the best person to reach out to." I said, "Why not?" I
mm,
was
mm.
coming back to Karachi anyways. Like in 2 weeks' time, he said we will meet together and see what could be done. And through that engagement, I got to learn about the SDGs and what the UNFCCC processes are and all the different things that go with it. Right? Not going into too much technical
बिल्कुल.
details here. So I said, okay,
हाँ, हाँ, हाँ.
why aren't we talking about this? Because it's really really important. Because we back in 2017 we saw some of the most deadly heat waves in Karachi, right? If you remember, a lot of people died. There was so much chaos in
Mhm,
the city. So that was something that really connected to me. And I said, okay,
mhm,
if there's one thing that I'm going to do in my free time and as a passion and something that I
mhm,
also wanted to do was on climate, right? So I started back
mhm,
then, and I've been
mhm,
slowly working. Like obviously, in my own personal capacity, you can't really do much if you're not doing this full
बिल्कुल.
time. So whatever, whenever I get a chance, I'm up to something. Like that's why you might see me doing
हाँ,
something on 1 month, then like completely forgetting about it, and then doing
हाँ,
like differently
हाँ,
and like activating on and off. But this is something
हाँ,
that's I believe that okay, you have to do something. So whenever I have a chance, I do it in this regard. So
हाँ,
that's a bit of a history and why you see me doing one and off. And I'm very believer that young people should be the one making all those decisions, not even just in
Hmm.
Pakistan, but globally,
Hmm.
because like again in
Global.
Pakistan we are in the majority when you look at the numbers, right? The demographics, that how
Ah.
many the population breakout, like what percentage are we? We are, I think we are in the majority. I checked some
Hmm.
numbers a while ago, so I'm not sure if they still match out, but I'm pretty confident over there. So yeah,
That the
that's
youth is in majority. Like, is that what you're? Yeah, yeah. Like the Pakistan population is about yeah, it's 60% youth.
sorry.
It's a huge it's a huge majority. The Pakistani
Yeah,
youth
yeah,
is majority population.
right,
And I completely agree with you that young people need to take charge, and that's why I'm absolutely glad कि जो कहते हैं you're you know like doing all of these activities and taking the lead. And part of the reason why I came back from the US was to set that example as well. But then again, I'm not as young anymore, so it's like, I'm glad that there are more people that are taking up the mantle and moving forward. So okay, so right now, like you're in COP26, in like representing Pakistan, right? So are you there in an official capacity at this point in time? Are you there as a party delegate? Are you there as an observer, or are you there on your own
right.
at the
Well,
moment?
so that's a very interesting question, because few months back in August, oh sorry, September, I was in the Islamabad. I was invited to a expert discussion by the Standing Committee of Climate Change that is led by the Munzana Hassan. She's the chair of it, and I've been working with them since last year, since pandemic started, and they have been really facilitative, and they have been really open about the criticism and any other question that we might have regarding any issues pertaining to climate and environmental in general, right? So one of my agenda to be in Islamabad, because again it's a quite bit far from Karachi, right? Was to again to work on the our position, Pakistani position when it comes to climate change, and what's going
Crystal.
to be presented at the COP, as well as the pre-COP that happened in Italy, because they are also co-hosting this year COP with British government. So it's between partnership
Correct.
between Italy as well as
Right.
the UK government. So I was there for this. Another reason was because I wanted to get on as a party delegate, because
Hmm.
that's also very really important, because you, even though I have, like right now I'm as an observer of a German NGO, because I've been working with them for a couple of
Hmm.
years now. They were very happy to accommodate me, but I really wanted to represent Pakistan in an official capacity. But obviously I'm representing Pakistan. Whenever someone asks me, okay, where are you from, I'm saying Pakistan, and okay, what do you do, I tell them what I do at Pakistan, rather than because you see with the party badge, it's like pink. So I have a yellow badge, so it says observer. If if it would
Okay.
have been a party badge, I could have been involved in the official negotiation process that goes behind doors, right? I can still enter the doors, but I can't really say anything, and it's really restrictive in that regards. But I have access to pretty much all of the COP. So this thing is something that I really wanted to have, because this is my first time visiting COP as well. I have been in I have basically experienced other UNFCCC processes for quite some time now, so it's not like my first experience per se, because I have seen many delegates who are coming and like getting to know about the UNFCCC process for the first time, and it's a bit confusing, quite a bit for them. Like it's still confusing for me, because when the dynamics that goes into it, the place is again huge as well. The official
Right.
SEC, that's called the Scottish Event Center, where
Hmm.
the COP is happening. So they had
Hmm.
to basically make some arrangement to make sure that they are following the COVID protocols.
Hmm. So why is it? Because like COP is highly political as well,
Yeah.
and considering that the Ministry of Climate Change is there, and there are several others. Like it's interesting that you're representing Pakistan via a German NGO. Not to make it sound like very controversial, and we'll get to the actual things being discussed and like within COP and everything as well. But this is pretty interesting as well that. Even though you met the head of the chair of the standing committee and everything, and they've been quite responsive and they've been trying to get things done. So, like, does the Ministry of Climate Change allow citizens that are active in this in this field, or is it just the ministry that goes over there? And do you think they have the capacity to actually discuss climate change issues?
Right, right. So quite frankly, I think the ministry has not been responsive, especially when comparing to the progress that the standing committee have made. Obviously, you when you are basically interacting with bureaucratics and all these red tapes, all these things are involved. But then again, I have been trying to contact them like before coming to COP, obviously, for over a month now, and I could not get a reasonable response from them. Like, are they really interested? Are they not interested? When it comes to like, can they do it? Like, absolutely, because here I have my pleasure to engage with many Nepali delegates, because I like each time I sort of like my agenda to interact with delegates of one country, trying to learn from them and then move on to another country. So this today I'm going to interact with India's delegate. That's like my one of the agenda, to be there,
Right.
just to try and understand, okay, what circumstances are there. So they had the large, like
Uh,
the Nepalese delegate, they had the largest number, like at least I think that, because I got to meet at least 16 of them, and most of them are attending the COP for the first time, and they are not working in any
Acha.
official capacity in the ministry of the climate, like back home. I'm not sure how
Mm-hmm.
it's structured, but they are not working at the government. Their government facilitated them to bring them to the COP, so that they
Level.
can talk about the issues that the Nepal are facing, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think Pakistan, being in the top 10 vulnerable countries, also needs to take its strategy, right? Bring your people in, make sure they are
Mm-hmm.
talking with other negotiators of different countries that are actually
Mm.
making the policies, right? If you go
Acha,
in, yeah,
Nepalese citizens were there as party delegates, not just observers, and like there were
yeah.
16 in number. So how many delegates are there from Pakistan?
Like, to be very frank, I have like I so there are different pavilions there that each country set up. So I just visited last yesterday, just for 5 minutes. I could see four people, and they seem like the government people, to be very honest. Like, I haven't really
Right,
seen or interacted with any of the party
right,
delegates yet, because I will do it later on, so I can't really say how they're structured. But I'm
mm,
very confident in saying, because 16 people out of that 14 Nepalese young people, like in my
mm,
own age group, right?
mm,
18, 20, 21, 22.
mm,
So
mm.
they were just getting started. A lot of them were visiting the COP for the first time, right? And and
Sahi
and,
hai.
and they were trying to ask for directions, and okay, where should we going? I helped quite a few of
Mm,
them as well. So it was just that they were just getting started, right? So
Sahi hai.
so that's the difference when it comes to the both countries,
Uh,
definitely.
like it's like hopefully Pakistan will become more and more serious as they realize that like it's like there's a pretty serious situation because as far as I'm concerned, I think that everything depends on the environment. Even all politics stems from the environment. Your food issues, your water issues, your housing issues, your traffic policies, like electric vehicle policies, your energy policies, oil, resources, heat waves, everything that you can think of is based on the environment. Khair chale, let's move forward. Let's leave the bureaucratic red tape behind. So tell me, what are you doing there? You've been there for 2 or 3 days now. Have you attended a few sessions? What's your session today? You already told me that like on your personal agenda, you wanted to meet the Indian delegate. What are you going to talk about? And so like thus far, have you
Yeah.
attended any sessions? And
Yeah.
what are you going to talk to the Indian delegate about?
Right, right, right. So if you remember, I bought in KOI, right? That Conference of Youth. So could I
Hmm.
talk it here, or do you want to like?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, talk about koi. Bilkul, bilkul.
Right.
That's more
So
important.
so KOI is basically, so this year 16th KOI happened. So we have been doing KOI, like, not me personally, but KOIs are being organized for the
Hmm.
last 16 years. So that basically a COP version of young people that anyone can
Hmm.
get in. This year they had to create a registration and application form because of the COVID restriction. But usually you can just walk in, like, have an official ID with you, like any they can identify you with, right? And then you can just get
Hmm.
in and get your accreditation there at the registration desk, and they will let you in.
Sahi hai.
And there is no age limit. I think it's 35. You have to check with them, but The main point of the COI
What's
is
the
to
age limit?
are
What did you say?
35. 35.
35. Oh,
Yeah.
chalo. I'll apply it next year as well then.
Yeah, you need to check though, but because it has changed, I'm not sure exactly what it is at
Right.
this moment. But officially, when I was taking, like, I helped Quiet 2 years back, or like I was one of the organizing team virtually helping them. So back then
Mm-hmm.
it was 35. I'm not sure exactly, but I'm pretty sure it will be around 28 at the least. So 28 to 35, I'm not exactly sure what the exact number are going to be, but anyone can apply
Right.
there if you are young people, quote unquote young
Mm-hmm.
people. So
Yeah.
what happens is basically it usually lasts for 3 4 days, and I have been attending that koi since
Mm-hmm.
28th of October. So 28, 29, 30th. So these were like the three official days of koi, and then on 31st, since the
Right.
COP was also starting, they also created
Mm-hmm.
some programs around making sure that people that are going into the COP for the first time, what they need to know about
Mm-hmm.
the code of conduct, what to do, what not to do, how who to reach out to in case you are in
Makes
some
sense.
sort of trouble, and all the basically house rules and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really important because that gives you a chance not only to understand more about the climate issues and what's happening around the world, because there were around 300 young people that attended it, so they were from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
You can name just one country and
Mm-hmm.
they were there. So a huge
Right.
participation, considering the COVID restriction as well as the visa issues. Then some said that some delegate
Mm-hmm.
have faced. They were in droves.
Mm-hmm.
So the UA government were facilitative, but in the beginning they
Mm-hmm.
were getting rejection and delays. But they were
Right.
there. So that's something that any young person in Pakistan can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are over the age of 18 and if you want to travel internationally, right, and go apply there, visit there, you will learn about what happening around the globe. You will learn about what other people are doing in their countries, their struggles. You will learn a lot. There will be capacity building workshops and all sort of stuff that happens at COI. So
Mm-hmm.
coming back to what my agenda is, so COI is modeled after COP, as I said. It's just that uh, since not a lot of young people get into COP, right? Because there's a whole process of accreditation, like you need to be basically nominated by an
Mm-hmm.
organization that has been accepted by the UNFCCC, that's the Secretariat of
Mm-hmm.
UNFCCC, that basically take care of all thing environment when it comes to the climate change and United Nations. So they are the body that deals with everything. So you need to be
Right.
accredited, your organization need to be accredited, and they will then say, okay, from our organization we are nominating Durlabh, right? For example.
Sorry.
And it's
Right.
it's a hard process. Not everyone can get in
Of
because
course.
there are limited badges. You can't say, okay, we are nominating 1,000 people, because the numbers are
Ah.
always
No.
limited. Yes. So coming back to the COP, right? So far, I have attended 31st, and today is the second. Yes. So only 2 days. So let me tell you what I've been up
Right.
to during this two. So
Okay.
this is not long, not a lot of time. On 31st, I got in early. I got my badge and everything. So on 31st, what my agenda was to meet people who are coming in for COI, right? Because we had a pre-meeting at the COI itself at the venue and said, okay, let's just meet there as well. We went there, we met up,
Right.
we decided, okay, what we want to check out, because there's a lot of things that are happening at COI, sorry, at COP,
Mm.
in
Mm.
the SEC, the Scottish Event Center, where
Mm.
the COP is held west. So we said, okay, let me report back on this specific thing. So if you are like an observer, obviously you can't really interact with the negotiator. So I can't really do that. But there were other people that were
Mm.
party delegates, right? They had pink badge. So they said, okay,
Mm.
let us take that, and you take some. So there were around 50 people that attended COP from COI. So it's a
Mm.
good number. I'm not saying
No. No.
it's a
Mm.
something like that, but still quite a bit comparing. There were like 300 plus people attending COI, right? They were already here. They were in Glasgow. It was like 30 minutes away from where we were
Mm.
hosted by a university, University of
Mm.
Strathclyde in Glasgow, and usually universities are provides us venue wherever the COP is being held, right?
Mm.
So we went in at the COP. We basically said, okay, let's just do this. You do that, and we came back at the end of the day. We report, okay, how things are going and how people are there. Because if you saw, China is not at the COP, right? for the
Right.
last couple of hours. If you have seen the news coveraging out of, because usually for countries attending, you will see their pavilion, you will see people roaming around, even though the official negotiation starts at the first and the second. So these are like
Mm,
the two big days where all the delegates and their, for example,
mm,
presidents, prime ministers, head of states visit COP, and then on the second they leave, and all the other people, for example, the people who are heading the ministries of climate change, for example, or environment
mm,
ministries or
mm,
whatever, they stay back, and then they sort of
mm,
like work through all the things that are on the agenda, and make sure कि भाई
mm.
हमारी country is not being undermined in any way, right? So एक
हाँ,
interesting joke भी है, kind of a funny way. We
हाँ,
you know that COP is called conference of parties, yes,
हाँ,
but
हाँ.
like sort of like a inner joke is that it's not really conference of parties, it's conference of polluters, right? Because
Of course.
that's where the big lobbyist money oil group, even
हाँ,
I would go far and say even OPEC countries, right, the oil
हाँ,
producing countries.
absolutely.
So
हाँ,
so that's where they try to see, okay, how we can do just the bare minimum and get away with it, yes.
हाँ. But
So
like, how about China? Like, if China isn't there, so is it really a party then? Like a party or conference of polluters? So why is it that China didn't show? Any speculations? Any
yeah,
reason?
we can obviously guess. The one thing was because there has been certain tensions with
Mm,
regards to America, with regards to Australia, like the pressure that the America is putting in, not in terms of environment in any way, because
mm,
you need to see that when it comes to which country has been doing the most in
mm,
climate, I would say
mm.
China comes in top three, believe or
Right.
not, because they
Mm,
have been switching to cleaner energy, even though they are
yeah.
sponsoring coal and black
Mm,
powered power plants across the world through
हाँ,
the Belt and initiatives. But internally within their own country, they have been very eager and very fast in terms of
mm,
approaching the cleaner energy, like electric buses and whatnot. They have been
exactly.
moving really fast, because
हाँ,
obviously there have been issues going on with the air quality couple of years back, right? If you have been following that
mm,
as well, so they got a really pressure from their own citizen. Okay, why aren't China doing much? So
mm,
in terms of climate, I think they are very good, and some of they have also announced before COP as well that okay, we are going to be net zero at specific air. I'm not exactly sure,
mm,
but they have
mm.
made that commitment. So in terms of that, I think they were golden.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
because there were other European power present there, and they didn't want to be just get caught in all the other politics that goes besides the COP, right? I think that's why
Right.
this action. Yep.
Okay. So considering that China is in there, and I agree with you that they've been I believe they recently announced that they wanted to shift away from coal power plants and everything as well. So
Yep.
considering that, so China does seem to be on the right path in that regard. But do you think, considering that China isn't there, that the COP will have any legitimacy, or like if not legitimacy, then at least then what's it called, an impact?
Yep.
Because
Yep.
if one of the largest countries, well, one of the largest country isn't there,
Yep.
so like, do you think that will have an impact? And what does that impact mean for Pakistan anyway?
Right. These are some amazing questions. So let me give you my perspective. Obviously, someone might have another perspective on this, but what I really think is that even though China is not present, they have made some great progress and some great announcement and great commitments. I think that will obviously going to help, but also at the same time, the conference of parties that it follows something called common response but differentiated. Sorry, common targets but differentiated response. So whatever a country can do in its own, they will do it,
Hmm.
but they will do it
Hmm.
at the same target, right? We need to be at net zero by the end of this
Right.
century. So that's like the common basically agenda, and they do it. Okay, what we can do at this time, this is our common
Hmm.
basically what where we are heading into. And they're also called something NDCs, right? So these are national determined contributions, where the country basically
Yeah.
submits and okay, these are what we are going to do. Pakistan also presented. This is also why what I worked on when I was in Islamabad with the standing committee, just a bit over there as well. They were taking recommendations.
Hmm.
So they present this. So these are the two biggest, if you say, contributions or what the countries need to do if they're attending COP, right? And they've already done that. So in terms of that regard, I think that it's okay. But then again, the other issues, for example, finance is another very important topic for this year COP. Like, how are we going to support LDCs, basically um low income countries that have not historically contributed to the global house gases, right? The greenhouse gases. So how are you going to support that? So in the Paris, what it was discussed was to create a fund. Uh, Starting basically amount was 100 billion each year, and this year they were supposed to increase it and to implement it as well, because what they discussed in the Paris Agreement, they were going to ratify at this COP and finalize everything.
Okay.
Called a Paris Rulebook. Again, going into bit technical, because if you're talking about COP, you have to be bit technical. So
Mm-hmm.
what Paris Rulebook exactly is? We are all talking about net zero and net. Okay, we need to cut our carbon emissions, but there isn't a method or a way to do that that has been basically said. Okay, the United Nations usually come in. They say, okay, let's do this, and that's how we are going to do that, right? So whatever we pledged, like the countries, the signatories of Triple C pledged at the historic Paris Agreement, right? They need to put it down into words, and this is it. Okay, this is step number one, this is step number two, and this is step three, and that's how we do it. Because right now it's just words, right? There are some drafts and something obviously in writing, but it's not very clear what the exact steps are going to be, and they needed to finalize the Paris rule book at this COP as well.
Acha, so
So
that's the
China would,
agenda. Huh.
yeah, that's the
China?
the precedent. Yeah. So these are the two other important points that China is going to miss on, because
Mm.
finance, again, it's really important. The Paris rule book that
Mm.
they were going to finalize was an important agenda. There are obviously other agendas as well,
Huh.
but these to me were the most, comparing to the NDCs as well as the commitments to the net zero.
हाँ अच्छा ओके तो there's a couple of comments like शरियार का जैसे comment आया था hello शरियार and I'm glad that you're watching that China's global negative impact but surely China's global negative impact in terms of climate emissions, particularly talking about states who are on the climate front line, has been greater than what they're doing internally. And I agree with that, and I'm sure everybody agrees with that. And that's why it's a huge deal, I guess, that China isn't there right now. But
Yep.
Rizwan Khan just asked the question, which is important. What about Pakistan's representation? I hope COP26 acknowledges our efforts in climate action. So, like taking that question forward, um, so, do you think the Pakistani representation? क्योंकि मेरा पहला सवाल था कि what does like do you think that COP will have an impact on Pakistan? So
Right.
keep that. Let's put a pin on it. Let's ask. Do you think the Pakistani representation that's there right now will they have an impact on COP26 to make them realize or to make them acknowledge like what Pakistan's been doing on climate action and what has Pakistan been doing on climate action?
Right. So it's really important what Pakistan has been doing, and let me get back to it in a bit. But let me first talk, okay, how Pakistan can make an impact, right?
Right.
Pakistan, obviously, we face a lot of issues, not just directly relating to climate change, but then there are trickling effect that goes well beyond climate change. Like for example, if your food is like we're facing food shortage, and it's
Mm.
directly impacted by climate change, right? So you have to see, okay, even though we have some issues, where is the root cause to all of those issues, right? And climate are like is the one of the, like, in the list of it there, it's at the top. It's also really important to talk about climate change in terms of national security as well. I think Pakistan
Exactly.
needs to do that. It should have done 10 years ago, not just now, but again, it's a start. It needs to be thought about, okay, how can we protect ourselves, right? If we just keep if the climate change just accelerates and then the negative consequences happens in Pakistan, right?
Huh.
So it needs to tackle this, I would say, on a war footing, right? Not just what we can do within Pakistan, but what the international communities, the countries are doing as well, and how we can bring them to make some more ambitious challenges, more ambitious basically pledges.
Huh.
One of the sub theme of the COP26 is also regarding raising ambitions, because the when Paris Agreement happened, it happened 2015, yes. So Paris Agreement, it gave like a 5 year time for the countries to basically whatever they have been doing, when they submit their next NDCs, the nationally determined contribution, it has to be greater than what they previously contributed, right? There's something called ratchet framework in the UNFCCC that they're leveraging, that basically say, okay, what you did past year, you have to do more on the next year, and then it will just increase. You can't go behind. You have to increase within the framework.
Uh-huh.
So Pakistan, like again, we have very limited resources. Obviously, we have some financial concerns as well. We all see news when we are in Pakistan regarding IMF and the loans, the inflation that have been going around. So I think our capacity to invite, to basically lead this fight is very limited. But what we can definitely do is to work in groups. So there are different groups. For example, I talked a little about OPEC, so that's like all producing
Uh,
countries. Then there are the island nations, that they have another group that they are very pushing against, right? I gave an example of Nepal, right? Nepal is also one of the most affected countries when it comes to climate change, even though they are very small countries geographically, if you compare it to even Pakistan, yes. So they have taken these kind of strategies, that by inviting these delegates in, they are making sure that the agenda is pushed through, even though it's not pushed through in an
uh,
official manner. It will create a change, because they are talking to other delegates, they are talking to other
okay.
negotiators, since they have party badge, yes. They have that privilege, they can talk on behalf of Nepal, but we don't have that privilege. Even though they are a small country, they obviously would have limited financial resources as well, something we also see in Pakistan. So these kind of out of the box thinking approach needs to be presented from the Ministry of Climate Change, or the people that are
But
heading.
you think that it's not happening right now?
No, it's
Like
not
that
happening right
we're not talking to OPEC, or
now. Yeah.
like especially considering that the oil prices. I mean, I'm sure that probably has an impact on that as well. Have gone up, or say we can see in Balochistan that there's a huge water tussle going on, and then there isn't a lot of water going over there. The last crop got destroyed because of water shortage and several other issues. So you and again, as you mentioned, national security, so that's a big one. I mean, Pakistan claims to be, well, and is one of the more important players in the national security as far as South Asia is concerned. So you think our representation hasn't been doing that, like talking on these issues? Because like I like the idea of, indirectly going there and making alliances, so that, Nepal's or other countries things are represented. Pakistan isn't doing that.
As far as I can tell, no, because like obviously, like I have not been directly working with the Minister of Climate Change, so I'm not exactly sure. But as far as my knowledge is, as far as what I have seen, I'm not sure that they are doing that. Maybe we can contact MOCC and get their opinion on it, like what they have been. Obviously, I'm pretty sure
uh,
they must have some strategies in place. But then again, if they're not being implemented, then what's the first reason to
uh,
have those strategies in place as well? Yes.
uh.
But I think
So
as a, yeah,
जी जी बोले बोले आप
as a,
बोलिए.
yeah, as a country, one of the most important things that Pakistan has been doing is to lead the world on the planting of trees, right? The Blinter tsunami that the government did, and they are still planting quite a bit of trees.
Hmm.
One thing we need to make sure that it's sustainable. It's not just for photo shoots and then they just dies out after a couple of years, right?
Exact.
Like, but talking, just taking this, okay, that won't happen. I think there has been a lot of conversation, because the German NGO that I talked about, our one mission is also to plant trees. The NGO is called Plant for Planet. So plant trees for planet,
Okay.
that's the one thing that we do. Like the other things that we do, but this is like the top highlight for us.
हाँ
So,
हाँ
so that's a very important thing, because we planted quite a bit of trees here in Pakistan, right? So
हाँ
we
हाँ
can lead that discussion, because it does not take too much money or monetary resources, because obviously it takes some time to raise a
हाँ
healthy forest, right? But in terms of what kind of resources goes into like making sure that it's not like it's sustainable, it's not drying out, you're watering it correctly, there are
exactly.
people to take care of the plantation as well. So those kind of
Hmm.
are we can do, and I think most countries can do. So Pakistan can lead the world in this regard because we have been doing on a very very big scale.
Uh, so you're in a unique position over there right now. To you're an observer, and observers can, of course, like have a like a positive impact as well. So, what have you observed? You just mentioned that Pakistan hasn't been making these out of the box alliances or so on and so forth, or maybe they are, perhaps they are. I don't know. But what have you observed thus far? What have they been doing? And I guess like if you're like available after COP, we can have another session, like, because of course there's still 10 days of it left, and then maybe perhaps we can also also discuss what exactly Pakistan did. But thus
Right.
far, what has the Pakistan? What have you observed? Like, have you been shadowing the Pakistani representation, or have you been doing your own thing?
No, I haven't done so yet because, but as I told you a while ago that I visited them at the pavilion, and they
Huh.
didn't seem like so. So, for example, let me get back to Nepal because again I spent the whole day, so I'm just going Nepal this, Nepal that, because
Right.
that's something that they're already doing. And today after today, you might hear me India this, India that. Who knows? But
Uh-huh.
what Nepal, they have brought in activists rather than uh, the officers that
Right.
are enrolled in in the government program. Yes, so they
Uh-huh.
are leading with a different
Uh-huh.
kind of energy. They are optimists, they are hopeful, they have that passion for climate change. Obviously that's why they are here in a very hostile, like not hostile but unfriendly environment to Asian, most Asian. Yes, because of the cold weather, combine it with rain. It just it's not a very good
Uh-huh.
combination to have. So they are taking an approach to bring in people that are really excited about it. I'm not saying Pakistan is not excited because obviously it's impacting us. They want to make sure that the world is doing their fair share, but at the same time, if you're not bringing in young people who are
Uh-huh.
really into it with passion, it's not going to push through. You might make some policies, you might invite some other delegates, other people, other countries in, but that would be on official level, the diplomacy basically. If Pakistan can do something, it's with their diplomatic channels, but there's so many
Uh-huh.
different ways that you can do more, not using diplomatic channel, using the example that I shared that the Nepal has been doing.
Hmm. So, but like, will you shadow Pakistan pavilion, or is it's going to be more than just the pavilion, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah. So will you
yeah,
go
yeah.
to
Pavilion is,
other round tables?
yeah, pavilion is basically like a space that there is always at COP where countries can basically show what they have been doing, right? So there were like
Ah,
five people at the pavilion, and I got to just talk to them quite briefly. Like obviously I said 5 minutes, but I got out because
ah,
I was trying to do something else. I just went to the pavilion because I needed to
ah,
find someone, and and on the way I saw Pakistani pavilion, so I just stopped by real quick. So
ah,
obviously
ah.
whatever the Pakistan is doing, it's not through the pavilion. There's just a public front where they just show, okay, these are what we have been doing. But I'm pretty
Right,
sure
right.
that the other party members that weren't there 100%, because 4 or 5 people, they don't really make up the whole
Ah,
party.
it,
There were
ah, ah,
so what I feel, there would be at least 20-25 people in total from
hmm,
Pakistan. So that's like usually how Pakistan has been represented by in previous
ah.
COPs as well, like the number of delegates, the party members
Right,
that
right,
bring in. So
right.
obviously they are in the negotiating rooms because that's the one purpose that they are here, right? If they're not doing that, then I don't know what they are here for. So
So can
so
can you can you enter those negotiating rooms?
yeah, yeah, I can, but I did not do it because of the leader summit, the world leader summit that are happening. Yes, that happened yesterday and today, because
Ah,
there's so much security issues. Like we, even though go through the whole kind of like 3 layer security, like the first they check our
ah,
documents, they check our faces, they check
hmm,
our, they pat ourselves, then we go through an operate or the airport type security, like we have to put everything away, take your
hmm,
belts, take your shoes off, go through
hmm,
scanners and such. And then there's another line of security where they that's the
hmm,
taken care by UN, the UN people, where they check our badges and stuff,
hmm.
make sure that we are the same person, check our mask again,
Ah,
check our COVID test and other things. So there are 3 layered security, right? And even though we have gone through this, we have to go additional security when we have to go to the leader summit, because they basically corner off the entire 4 buildings. So I think it's total it's around 6 buildings, and we were able to move quite freely to the fourth building, but not after that. So three buildings were entirely cornered off just for the leader summit, because obviously they are provided with more security and protocols because of the head of states are visiting.
अच्छा तो लीडर समिट में मलिक अमीन असलम साहब probably went, right?
Yeah.
Sahi. So, okay, so hopefully you do get to attend one of the negotiating tables and everything as well, to at least observe what Pakistan is talking about, because that's definitely an important bit that the world needs to know. But okay, so like I'm glad that you're taking the approach of not just focusing on the Pakistani pavilion, but also interacting with other nations, and figuring out what they're doing and how Pakistan can improve. So thus far you've met Nepal. Today you're going to meet India. What are your other plans? Like which other countries pavilion or countries delegates you really want to meet?
Well, so my focus has been to meet other South Asian countries because of the regional effect, right? I'm already connected to quite a bit of young people and organizations that are operating out of Europe as well as Americas. So okay, that's good to have, but at the same time, if we really want to make an impact, we need to see what the our neighbors are doing, basically, right? Because they are in the
Huh.
same region, they are facing similar issues. Because we there has been this campaign like think global but act local, right? You need to take a
Hmm.
global approach, but when it comes down to okay, what Pakistan needs to do, it has to be localized. You can't just say okay, whatever America is doing, let's just copy it 100%, right? It will not work,
Exactly.
obviously.
Exactly. Huh.
So obviously, since I have limited capacity, because I have been invited to speak at certain events starting from third as well, here in Glasgow, in person events. So I need to see who I can meet and what most impact that I can have through that meeting, right? So
Huh.
since I have been already meeting and communicating with other countries for quite some time now, I thought okay, let's, because usually the global south, that as we call them, the South Asia, basically they are very very underrepresented, like even Pakistan, India, we are very underrepresented, right? So I
Huh.
want to
I
take
see.
this opportunity to meet just with them. If there's some other delegates that I find between the way and I know them, I will obviously stop and greet them and basically just get a little bit of introduction going and stuff. But my main agenda, my personal agenda, is to meet all the South Asian countries, trying to learn from them, trying to connect with them, so that once we are out of COP, we can continue those communication. We can continue to see what the other countries are doing, and they can be really, really good assets to have. At least that's what I think.
ठीक है जबरदस्त. Yeah, like I think that that's a pretty good approach, because एक तो first, as you said, think globally and act locally, starting with local action, then moving to the regional sphere, and then of course like moving into global leadership and everything. That's probably the best way to go. So which event are you speaking at, and what's the agenda for that speech and
Right.
event?
Right. So I'm speaking at three events here in Glasgow. So one is being organized by a religious organization. So Center for Applied Buddhism. They are organizing one event. Like they have been organizing a couple of events here in Glasgow, but I have been invited to speak on the third with them. So that's third in the evening. Before that, I've been invited in the morning. I've been invited by a UK-based organization by the name of One Young World. So they engage with young people. They build capacities in various, not just with climate, but on other. They work on many different areas. So they work with youth empowerment. If I were to put just in a couple of words, they have also invited that. And the last engagement that I have is on the sixth, yeah, on the sixth, where I have been invited by the Global Shapers community. That's like the sister organization of World Economic Forum that I have been very active in for a couple of years now. So they are doing
Zabardast.
another event on 6th, and so that's when I'm also speaking at the Gold's House. One is at Webster's Theater. Other one is somewhere around that. I'm not sure exactly. Like I need to look it up. So yeah, three events where I'm speaking in person.
अच्छा ठीक ठीक ठीक. So youth empowerment, global shapers, again वो youth empowerment वगैरह के वाले से हैं वो.
Yeah.
So what's the content like of your speech briefly? Okay, जो कहते हैं, what issues are you going to touch upon? Like of course climate and everything, but के Pakistani issues, yeah, again regional issues, like any specific issue that you want to um, target, because there's a good opportunity. You can talk about general stuff, of course, but everybody talks about general stuff, right? And
Yep.
everybody knows but there are specific issues specific to Pakistan. So
Right.
is there any specific topic that you have in mind?
Right. Yes, yes, 100%. So last night, yeah, probably not. No, yesterday, I think day before yesterday, I was at the South Asia Peace Network, the event that they did, right, for the climate
Right.
change. Yes.
Afia Salam mentioned bilkul bilkul
Yeah,
ji.
yeah. After Salam, basically, I read out the resolution of the countries that was basically
That was
approved by
it.
everyone that was in attendance. So we are all the South Asian representation there. So that document
Hmm.
is really, really good. If you have a chance, they have published it. I think today in the morning I was checking it. I could see it. It was being shared on the social media platforms. Yes. So one thing that I wanted to do during this is to highlight, okay, what kind of hardship the global south and the South Asian countries are going through, because obviously when it comes to these kind of events, all of these are western oriented, because these
Ah,
organizations are based in UK, some of them are based in Germany, but then again none of them are based in South Asia. So
ah,
I want to take this opportunity to talk about that, and also touch on what young people can do, because youth, I think, as I said earlier as well, representation is very much missing from the global south countries, the South Asia in particular. And what government needs to do is to facilitate them and to bring them forward, right? And I also want to touch on the topic of climate justice a bit as well, because usually when we talk about climate, especially in South Asian context, we don't talk about children, like how their lives are going to be impacted by if we don't do something about climate change.
ah,
Like they should be given a fair chance to life, right? They need to be provided with better conditions that they're going up in.
hmm.
So these are like a couple of things that I want to touch on. Yeah.
That's great. I'm glad that like you have a pretty again local approach, but at the same time a regional approach. And like I agree with that approach as well, because if you resolve regional issues, then only you can
Move to, yeah.
and like it resolve local issues as well. So tell me a little bit about Sapan as well. So what happened at Sapan? What was like, and was Sapan just India and Pakistan, or like other South Asian countries were there as well?
Yeah, all the South Asians, we have representation from Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and even Maldives. So we were like, there were around 70 to 80 people. All of them were working in climate change. So it was not like an open discussion, but a discussion of experts like that were there, and they were presenting, okay, what we have been doing in our own countries and what we have to do collectively as a South Asian, or if you look at the broader picture, like what does Sapan stand for. So that was the like that's what the center theme of the entire discussion. What do we need to do as a region, and what do we need to say to the powers, the global powers, the US, the Americas, the Europe, even China as well. So these are like the top three countries that have the most power when it comes to what they can facilitate.
Mm,
LDC, the least development countries, non-annex countries, basically, how they can bring in finance into this, what they really need to do on their end as well, because historically speaking, they are the biggest polluters out there. So how
ah,
can we bring them in? That was the whole discussion around it. What needs to be done at COP from the South Asian perspective.
huh. But at the same time, we are one of the largest polluters as well, or like India and Pakistan. We need to look at that as well. Not like I don't, of course, not one of the largest. Of course, like, we don't have that much of a contribution. But considering the fact that the Indus and the Ganga rivers are in the top 10 most polluted rivers in the world, so that has to have some impact. So I guess like we have to look internally as well as, of course, like holding them like accountable. Even then, our Pakistan's I believe Indus is number 6 on the most polluted rivers in the world. Um, um, but even then, Pakistan's contribution to the global climate change issue is, not as high. But we still are the most vulnerable ones. So yeah, so we need to look at ourselves internally, as well as be able to represent ourselves or make ourselves heard on the international stage. So
No, I
okay,
completely
so
agree.
we are at 1 p.m. Like I was looking at 49 minutes, but then I realized that we started 10 minutes late because it's like we were discussing issues. So when do you have to run to your next session?
I just need to run now. Like if I can take
Okay.
a couple of minutes because I will travel in train. So the train is
Acha.
at 30. So I can take some minutes because I need to get ready and then also leave
Acha.
for the train. So I can take 10
Uh,
minutes probably if you have any
huh.
burning.
No, 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 absolutely. Like I'd rather that you get to those places with a clear mind and with time to spare, so that you can represent Pakistan and the global South in a more impactful and clear-headed manner. Thank you so much for your time, Durlabh, and I'm sure that we'll continue the discussion if there's any issues that you really want to discuss like that came up. We could do that again during the week, or post COP26, we'll have a discussion as well. Perhaps we can meet in Karachi and like have a like instead of having a like Zoom discussion, we can have a live discussion here as well. Tomorrow, sorry, on Thursday we'll be meeting. I just wanted to let our audience know that on Thursday we'll be meeting Granaz Baloch to talk about Global Assembly. And then inshallah we'll like, be meeting like a few other people as well, such as Khurram Ali, to discuss about urban housing and how that has an impact on climate change. Like the Gujar Nala issue that's going on in Karachi, because of course it goes both ways. Climate has an impact on humans, and humans have an impact on climate. So and right to shelter is there because of environmental situations. And then hopefully we will have people like Afia Salam on as well, and like others, inshallah. Like I'm trying to line up a few people during COP and immediately after, so that we could continue the conversation, have the engagement go forward. So thank you once again, Darlab. If there's a quick message that you want to give to the youth, to the people over here, go ahead and then get ready for your day.
Yes, yes. So I will be very briefly about this. So uh, one message to young people in Pakistan is obviously there are challenges if you want to work as an activist. There are even you can get threats to your life. You will be scared about your life as well if you're working in grassroots. You have witnessed this. So so one thing that I want to show is do whatever you can in your capacity. I'm not saying just leave everything and just go after climate change. That might be possible, but it's not sustainable. You have to make sure that you are being taken care of, your mental and your physical health is being taken care of. So be out there, see what you can do in your limited capacity. If you think you can just shift to non-use like reusable, like shift away from single use plastic, do that. If you want to do more, see what other people are doing, like join the groups that are already out there. I'm in so many groups, there's so much happening on this group. So see what the conversation is about, and then just join those, and just make sure that your voice being heard.
Great. Thank you, Darlab. And your message is now scrolling at the bottom as well. A little bit, do whatever you can in your capacity for climate change combat. And that's a solid message, and I completely agree that of course, like activists, fatigue is a thing as well. And like I love your other message as well that you gave initially throughout the conversation, that the Pakistani officials need, and the Ministry for Climate Change need to take like a more innovative approach, and instead of just having bureaucrats or like officials there, they need to have more and more activists on ground grassroots representation in the world, so that they can interact and learn. And I'm glad this will be a great experience for you as well. And like you will be leading Pakistan in the future, inshallah. And we'll go from there. Okay, great, Darlab. Thank you so much once again, and I'll let you go now. Have a
Thank you.
great call, and
Yeah.
more power to you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, and obviously we will connect once I'm back in Karachi. And all the best to you and your future shows. And yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, take care.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you.
good one. Yeah, take care. Bye bye.
So yeah, so that was Darlab, and he's doing an amazing job. He's a young, bright example of what Pakistan's future looks like, and hopefully he will, and actually not hopefully, I'm sure that he will learn a lot from this COP, and from being an observer as well. And hopefully he will be one of the party delegates in the future. And we need more and more people, especially young people, in such events, in such conferences, and more and more people from areas that actually are affected, such as Balochistan or KP or Thatta or like Sajawal, because of the seawater intrusion issues and everything, um, so that Pakistan's voice can be heard on the international sphere. Um, Otherwise, we don't want to lose out on such an opportunity. Anyway, शुक्रिया आप लोगों का, like जो देख रहे थे, and hopefully as our conversations will move forward, we will have um, you know more guests coming on. Thank you so much. Have a good day.